I submit to you Exhibit C. When Jesus is crucified, there are a lot of people watching. First and foremost, of course, are the religious leaders. They're there taunting him. They want him dead. They're going to make sure that he gets executed. You also have the people passing in and out of Jerusalem who, as they go by, just shake their heads at what's going on. You have John, the beloved disciple, author of the book of John. You have Mary, mother of Jesus. You also have the women that had followed Jesus through his ministry in Galilee. Of course, we also have a Roman guard that's there to make sure that nobody interferes with the crucifixion. And last but not least, the commander of the Roman detail, the centurion. We know that Jesus is alive until about the 9th hour. The 9th hour is 3 p.m. The reason that we know that Christ is alive at this point is because he says various things when he's on the cross. He says that he's thirsty. He asks God to forgive those who've crucified him. He even says to one of the other crucified persons that that person would be with him today in paradise. He even gets to the point where he says, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" Clearly he understands what's going on, and he's still alive. Well, at about the 9th hour, Jesus is about to die. And at the very end of his life, he says, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. It is finished." And he breathes his last. At that point, the centurion says, "Surely this man was the Son of God." Well, the scene shifts, and we're back over at Pilate's house. The religious leaders have come to talk to Pilate about making sure these men are dead before sundown. Why? Because they're about ready to have a Sabbath, and it is against their law to have a crucified man on a cross overnight, especially on a Sabbath. So they ask Pilate to have the legs of these 3 men broken. So the soldiers come out, they take their big club, and they break the legs of the first man. He sags, he's about to die. They find the second man is alive as well. So they take their club and they break his legs, and he sags, and he dies eventually. But when they get to Jesus, he's already dead. But they got to be sure, because ultimately they have been charged with the job of executing Christ. So one of the soldiers takes a spear and he pierces Jesus' side. When he does that, blood and water flow. And that's going to be a significant detail in our forensic analysis. So at this point, it's clear Christ is dead. Joseph of Arimathea, a follower of Christ, comes to Pilate and says, "I'd like to take his body and bury him." And Pilate's kind of surprised. It's only been 6 hours. So Pilate summons the centurion and inquires, "Is Jesus really dead?" And the centurion says, "Yes, he is dead." So Pilate then releases the body to Joseph. Joseph is helped by Nicodemus in placing spices on Christ's body, about 70 pounds worth, and they wrap them with cloth. And they place Christ in the tomb where Joseph was planning to be buried. And the reason that they do that and then roll the stone in front of it is they can't finish the burial preparations. Why not? Because it's about to be the Sabbath, and they can't do that on the Sabbath. Well, the religious leaders come back to Pilate and they say, "Look, here's our concern. We remember this deceiver saying that he would be killed and then in 3 days he would rise from the dead. And our concern is that his disciples are going to steal the body and they're going to run around telling people that he's raised from the dead. And that deception is going to be worse than the other one." So Pilate says, "Take a guard, make the tomb as secure as you know how." So the religious leaders get a guard, they put them in front of the tomb, and they also ask that Rome seal the tomb with a seal. And the significance of the seal is that anybody who breaks that seal, rolls that stone away, has broken the laws of Rome and faces Rome's wrath. So now let's talk a little bit, we've talked a little bit about the evidence from the witness's perspective. Let's talk a little bit about the forensic analysis. I submit to you Exhibit D. What is the data that our expert's going to rely on? Well, he knows that the guards arrested Jesus and we've got the right person. He also knows that numerous people see Jesus alive on the cross. Numerous people see him die. Pilate inquires of the centurion to confirm that Christ is dead. Nicodemus musters the courage to ask for Christ's body because he knows he's dead. And then Joseph asks for the body of Christ. And Joseph and Nicodemus then wrap Christ's body in cloth with these spices. So clearly, people are telling our expert that Christ is dead. Plus, the blood and water that John records flowing from Christ's side are significant. Why? Because it tells our expert, Dr. William Edwards, MD, a pathologist, who wrote an article in 1986 for the Journal of American Medical Association, that based on the evidence he read, the fact that Christ was flogged to the point where he couldn't hardly carry his cross, that he was up on the cross, and that when the soldier pierced his side, blood and water flowed, that there was an inescapable conclusion that Jesus Christ was in fact dead. And the cause of death was either a ruptured heart or cardiorespiratory failure. So you see, we can have confidence that the facts that we know about Jesus' crucifixion and burial are true, and we can have that sense of confidence knowing that we're right. Well, next week we're going to talk a little bit about the issue of the resurrection. Is it a myth or is it a miracle? In the meantime, may God bless you and keep you, and may you have a closer walk with Him.